Hi folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatorius. So my video of yesterday talking about how the fact that the Norman invasion was not a French invasion of England in 1066 seems that a lot of people have got quite confused about this, and so I figure I could give a fantasy kind of historical comparison to show you how the Norman invasion was not a French invasion. But just to reiterate once again, William the Conqueror was the Duke of Normandy. On paper he owed fealty to the King of France, Normandy being in the sort of one of the duchies that owed allegiance to the Ile-de-France, ruled over by the King of France. However, William himself had had to fight to become Duke of Normandy, and in actual fact had been in conflict with the King of France. When he invaded England, it wasn't with the backing of France, it wasn't with the endorsement of the King of France, and if anything, William could be classed as an enemy of the King of France. So therefore, to call the Norman invasion of England a French invasion is kind of ridiculous. But here's a different historical, a fantasy historical comparison. Let's imagine that the so-called Apache, I know that this is a loose term for a group of people in Native Americans in America, but let's say, for example, the Apache in the late 19th century had been given independent status in the United States of America, and they had been given a plot of land, and the United States have said, you know what, we're not going to fight with the Apache anymore, this is your land, but you kind of owe us fealty and you'll pay us tax. And the Apache had gone, fine, okay, we'll pay your taxes, but basically we have our own laws, our own religions, our own architecture, our own culture, we do our own thing within our country, but we'll pay you taxes so that essentially you don't come and conquer us and do nasty things to us. And the American government went, yeah, that's fine. Now imagine 10 years later those Apache invade Mexico. And you know what? Against all odds, they do really well and they defeat the Mexican government and they take over Mexico. Is that a victory of the United States? Was it a USA invasion of Mexico? No! It was an Apache invasion of Mexico, and now Mexico has become a state of the Apache nation. And the Apache lands in the United States may still pay tax to the United States government, but Mexico is still an independent state ruled over by the ruling elite of Apache, of the Apache warriors that conquered Mexico. So I hope that kind of, I mean, I know it's kind of ridiculous, but it might give you a little bit more sense of what Normandy was in 1066. Yes, Normandy was part of the sphere of essentially fealty and tax-paying allegiance of France, but it was its own duchy. When William invaded England, he invaded England because he had a claim to the English throne through marriage and all sorts of other things, and the fact that Edward the Confessor had allegedly promised him the throne. But when he invaded as the Duke of Normandy, and he conquered England as the Duke of Normandy. He didn't conquer it for France or with the endorsement of France. So just remember, if the Apaches invade and take over Mexico, Mexico will become, that will have been an Apache invasion and an Apache conquest, not a USA invasion and a USA conquest. Cheers folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and feel free to follow us on Facebook.